Joining me now is author and political commentator Shemeka Michelle.
Shemeka Michelle.
Shemeka Michelle.
Shemeka Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done.
Why North Carolina's new law has criminals shaking in their boots. Welcome to Shaking My Head with Shemeka Michelle. I am your host, Shemeka Michelle. And I am asking y'all today to bear with me just a little bit. My emotions are all over the place. Today is December 3rd. This marks the second anniversary of the day my uncle was murdered. Also, ironically, we had to attend court this morning for the arraignment of the murderer. My emotions are all over the place. Number one, because it's the second anniversary. For those who don't know, my uncle was up on a Sunday morning, December 3rd, 2023. He was preparing to go to church for the hot breakfast ministry, and he got a knock on the door. Someone yelling that they needed help. Wanted to be let in. This person had knocked on three other doors before knocking on my uncle's door. They didn't open the door for him, but my uncle did. And my uncle was shot dead, preparing, as I said, for church. And today is the second year anniversary. But I'm also upset and I'm annoyed because this man, and I'm trying to keep my emotions together, today pled not guilty. He pled not guilty, although he admitted to murdering my uncle. He pled not guilty, although he's seen on several cameras, ring cameras, security cameras, even the one right next door to my uncle, he's seen committing the crime. This bastard pled not guilty, making my grandmother, who is 91 years old, go through an entire trial for something that he knows that he did. He pled not guilty. And what's also pissing me off is because at the time of the murder, this bastard was out on trial. He was out on bond. He was out on bond after trying to commit murder the previous year. They let him out to attend his grandma's funeral. What makes it so bad and adds insult to injury, not only was he out and after trying to kill someone else a year before, he had already served time previously for murder. So they know he's capable of killing. They saw that he was willing to try and kill again and still allowed him to be out to attend his grandma's funeral. I'm sorry. Grandma should have just gone on to glory without him looking on. The same way other families, the families of the person that he killed previously, had to grieve. Grieve by yourself. locked up in prison. The same way we're having to grieve the death because the justice system has been full of shit, especially in North Carolina, and it's been a revolving door. So yesterday, and it's so weird how everything lined up. Yesterday, I was saying, I know I had talked about wanting to go through some of these hoax, the crime hoax, and how people were followers and didn't do their research and didn't do their thinking and how they were duped, and just look at some of these major crimes or these major cases. But I just wasn't feeling it, and I didn't have all of my information. And when I come before you, I like to have information. And so I said, I don't know what to do to show on tomorrow. Like I normally I have it all planned out for the entire week. It was up in the air this week simply because I also didn't know when Pastor Corey Brooks people were going to get back to me and we could reschedule what we didn't get to do last week. So it was just kind of up in the air this week. And so my husband said, what about talking about North Carolina's new law? And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. Because I had just had a conversation about the new law. I got a call wondering what I thought about it. And the person, who will remain nameless, just because if they want to say who they are, they can, said they didn't like it. And I asked, what was it that they didn't like about the new law? And I said, well, I know it's going to probably increase the incarceration rate. I understand jails are already overcrowded, but what is it that you don't like? And I was told, well, it's called Iryna's law, but the first victim was DeCarlos. His name was DeCarlos, and if you see the video that they had before, he was talking to himself. He clearly had some type of mental issues, and he should have not even, like, somebody should have gotten him some help before. And I stared out into the abyss as I listened. The abyss was my office, but I felt like maybe I was in hell, or I don't know, because I just didn't have that same sympathy. And maybe that's a shortcoming on my part. Maybe that's a shortcoming on my part, that I didn't have the same sympathy that I had for Iryna and all of these other victims who are innocent, yet their lives have been taken by repeat offenders. I am going to remind you all of what happened to Iryna, and then we're going to break down North Carolina's law, the new law, in layman's terms, so that you understand exactly what it is, what's going on, what some of the consequences may be, what some of the downfalls may be of the new bill. But before I do that, I want to remind you, so that we can have a fresh memory of what happened to Iryna. And my heart goes out to her and her family, and to every other family, including mine, that lost a loved one because somebody sitting on a judge's bench or some magistrate didn't do their damn jobs. Because if you remember, DeCarlos had 17 prior arrests. The man who murdered my uncle had 14. There is no reason either one of them should have been on the streets. And I keep hearing politicians and murder sympathizers or murder apologists say things like mental health. I don't give a damn. Let me tell you why this irritates me so bad. Let me play the video for those who may, have been living under a rock and didn't get to see it. I want to remind you so that you can understand why I'm so aggravated, why I'm so irritated, and why I don't give a damn about it being DeCarlo's law. No, he don't need no law named after him. He needs to be locked up or locked up in a mental facility. Whatever it is, he don't need to be on the street. He's not a victim. It was one victim here in this instance, and I'm going to show you what happened to her. Now, remember, now this is in two parts. I'm going to show you the other part of the video. Did I keep it? Did I keep it? Did I keep it? Shoot. Let me try to find this. Khalees, come here real quick. I mean, Shemeka Jr. Shemeka Jr. Let me play this for you again. I want you to see why I'm so irritated. Look how this man was sane enough to only attack one person here, okay? He was sane enough to only attack one person in this video. He was sane enough to not attack anybody else. He went after the weakest link. He went after the person that he knew couldn't put up a fight at all. He didn't attack the man behind him, the man to the right of him, the black woman who looked like a linebacker a few seats up. He attacked Iryna. So he was sane enough to know exactly who he could do this to. And the video that I thought I saved that I didn't save was of him walking around, passing so many other people, being sane enough not to attack them, being sane enough to take his shirt off because he was dripping blood. So while there may be something there, I just don't have any sympathy for this so-called victim. I just don't. And I do understand that previously his mother had called the police on him because he attacked his sister. But the law needed to be changed. And unfortunately, it took this fair-skinned, blonde-haired white woman to get it done. And I'm happy because the buck has to stop somewhere. It has to stop. And so for everybody that's saying, oh my God, what's, the mental health. If you have a child that you know is dealing with mental health, parents, You might want to step in before they are on their 17th arrest, before they are on their 13th and 14th arrest. This wasn't somebody who just had an issue and was a this just happened that day. 17 prior arrests. The laws need to change. The law needed to change. But we're going to break it down because I want everybody to understand. Don't worry about it. I don't worry. Sorry. Oh, it's on my. Thank you so much. I'm going to show it to you since she actually got it for me. I just want you to see how sane he was. Sane he was. Here we go. Watch how in his right mind he is. Look. Oh, I'm getting blood everywhere, all on my shoes, all on my shirt. Let me take the time to take it off. And didn't attack anybody else. So I'm not saying he is completely sane. There may be a few screws loose. He may not be the sweetest grape in the bunch. His elevator may not go all the way to the top. He may be a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. But he was sane enough to know who to attack and what to do afterwards. And everybody sat there and watched this woman bleed out to her death. I want to remind you, he had 17 prior arrests. The man who killed my uncle had 14 prior arrests. He served time for murder and was out on bond after attempted murder. Neither one of these men had any business roaming the streets. So let's talk about Iryna's law in layman's terms, okay? Because there was public outcry and outrage over what happened to Iryna, rightfully so. And for all of the short bus riders saying things like, oh, she trying to find a reason to justify it because of her color, you're part of the problem. Part of the problem. We need stricter pretrial rules, and that's exactly what happened with this legislation. The highlights of the law, the intent is to keep high-risk violent offenders off the streets. Off the streets. And sometimes laws are written the hard way after tragedy. But this one, it's designed to prevent repeat heartbreak. Because that's what we are getting when you put these violent offenders back on the streets. So one of the things that this new law covers in North Carolina, Iryna's law, is there's no more catch and release for violent offenders. They are secured bond or GPS monitoring is now required for most high-risk victims. This is what you need to know about the law. This is going to make pretrial release much stricter for people charged with violent or repeat offenses. Is there some mental health evaluations? Death penalty is changing. This is what we need. Because maybe they'll be shaking in their Jordans enough to decide to do something else. To decide to not commit crimes over and over and over and over and over again. Stricter pretrial release rules, repeat offenders, violent crimes, or public transit offenses face tougher restrictions. You riding on the bus or on the light rail as this young lady was coming from work, and some monster decides they want to do something to you, tougher penalties for that. You on the bus, go Durham, whatever it is, tougher penalty for somebody who attacks you. You minding your own business, that's what needs to happen. They're a repeat offender of any sort, it needs to be a tougher penalty. I'm all for this. You do the crime, you do the time. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You're a violent criminal and you do something on the transit, tougher penalties. That needs to happen. This it's time for us to be tougher on criminals. There are some countries who don't have as much crime because they are much tougher on criminals. And it's time for us to be the same way. Maybe we can cut down on this revolving door. The man who killed Iryna had no business on the street. The man who killed my uncle, who had the audacity today to plead not guilty, had no business on the streets. And you can see that he takes the justice system as a joke to have admitted that you did the murder, to be on camera committing murder, and then to stand in a courtroom and say not guilty. You take the justice system as a joke because you've seen what happens. He's seen, oh, I already killed somebody, did my time, I got out, tried to kill somebody else, I got out, I got 14 other prior arrests and convictions. They think it's a joke. And so, no, I don't have no sympathy. You don't have no sympathy for me for the amount of time I'm going to have to take off work to be at this trial. No sympathy for my mother who's going to have to take off work. No sympathy for my 91-year-old grandmother whose son was murdered, who can barely get around. So, no, I don't have any sympathy. Defendants with multiple prior convictions face much tighter restrictions on release conditions. That's the way it should be. You had multiple convictions, it needs to be some tighter restrictions on your release. We can't trust you. We can't. Multiple convictions. Maybe they were robbery. Maybe they were car theft. I don't know. You got multiple convictions. We can't trust you to follow the law. So why should you just be roaming the streets with law-abiding citizens? We can't trust you. We just can't. So we needed things in place in order for us to have some civility out here. If I go out and something happens to me, it should be, oops, we didn't know this person was violent. We didn't know. It took us by surprise as well. Took you by surprise, Shemeka? It took us by surprise as well. Shouldn't be able to go and look up their criminal record and bam, 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 there it is. What we have right now is, oops, I did it again. And I'm going to keep doing it unless the laws change, which thank goodness they did. So maybe, just maybe, we won't have to keep going around this same bush and being caught up in this same cycle of BS. One of the things I think is helpful as well is mental health reviews. I'm with that. Even though I'm like, he was sane enough not to know who to attack. I'm with the mental health reviews. Let's do it. Judicial officials are now required to order mental health evaluations for defendants charged with a violent offense who have a recent history of involuntary commitment or who they believe pose a danger. So maybe, just maybe, if DeCarlos had a mental health evaluation before, I don't know. We do know, however, that it was in his documents. And that's why the magistrate in Charlotte came under so much fire, because she has like this mental health facility that they were sending people to, but they weren't going. So let me go to my uncle's case. Maybe if he had a mental evaluation and they saw something just wasn't quite right, maybe they would have held him. I don't know. I think the other laws are necessary in order to make sure they're not just getting health evaluations and then still push back out into the streets. Because you can get a health evaluation and say, hey, they're a little bit nutty. But so we needed these other things to keep them off the streets. We needed some of these other things. One of the best things that I think a part of this bill, that they're all good things for me, but the limit of cashless bail. Getting rid of cashless bail. For a new category of violent offenses, defendants can no longer be released on a simple written promise to appear in court. Instead, they will generally require a secured bond or house arrest with monitoring. Thank you. Thank you. Because I sat in court multiple times leading up to today, and I'm listening to, will you appear on this date, and just out the door. No more. And if you commit a crime and you're broke, and you let your affinity for crime write a check that your pockets can't cash, too bad. You'll be locked up and locked away, and that's exactly where you need to be. Listen, this new law, shaking in their Jordans, and that's exactly what needs to happen. And I understand some people feel like, why did you say shaking in their Jordans? That's racist. You know what's also racist? Crime statistics. It's not what this show is about. Look it up. I didn't want to do boots. the guy that killed my uncle, he didn't look like he had on boots to me. So I didn't want to do boots. It was a personal choice. But you can look up the racist crime statistics. I love the fact that they're getting rid of cashless bail. One of the other things that I think is so awesome about this new bill is the magistrate oversight, more accountability to prevent reckless releases. I love that. I love that the magistrates have some increased accountability. That's exactly what they need. Magistrates now must provide written findings for release decisions and can face suspension for noncompliance. Yes, you don't get to come in there, lady, and today you in a good mood and everybody just get to go as they please. You don't get to do that. You don't get to one day your hormones be all over the place and you're making decisions based on that. You don't get to do that. Sir, you don't get to know Billy Bob or little Ray Ray through a cousin or whatever, and you're going to pull some string. You don't get to do that. Magistrates now have more accountability. That's exactly what needs to happen. Now, some of the critics don't like this next portion, faster death penalty appeals. The law attempts to speed up the capital punishment appeals process and allows for alternative execution methods like the electric chair or firing squad. If lethal injection is unavailable, aiming to resume executions in the state after nearly a 2-decade pause. I'm just saying, maybe this will make y'all think or rethink your decisions to be repeat offenders, violent criminals. Maybe. Just maybe. I'm hoping that's the case, but I don't know. Because some of y'all think shit don't stink. Some of you think fire don't burn. And so you keep going out here and you keep doing bullshit because you keep getting away with it. This new law, though, that started midnight of November 30th, December 1st, should have y'all shaking in your Jordans. Should have you saying, you know what? I don't want to play stupid games because I don't want to win stupid prizes. It's not worth my freedom. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth it. They are cracking down, rightfully so. If you've killed someone before, you don't get to stroll out of jail like nothing happened. If you've attempted murder, you don't get just a slap on the wrist to your trial. You don't get that anymore. That's over with. The system is finally saying to repeat offenders, you're on notice. You're on notice. So while you keep going out here doing silly stuff, you're on notice. And it's frustrating for me because the system has failed. And I'm sitting here as someone who has a personal experience, a story to share, but I'm not the only one. Iryna's family isn't the only one. It's a problem. It's an issue. If you think this Ukrainian woman Because I'm seeing a lot of people say, oh, now they want to do something because she blonde and white. And, if you think she was the only reason, then I got some bionic glasses to share, that to sell to you. You can see through buildings. You can see the moon. You can look at the ocean and see the fish, the whales, whatever. These are some bionic glasses. Matter of fact, I mean, I got these to sell to you. As I said before, DeCarlos had 17 prior arrests. He was arrested for assaulting his sister prior to this. Maybe if they had actually penalized him and looked at the fact that he had multiple arrests, Iryna might still be alive. Maybe if they had looked at the amount of times he had been arrested before, his sister wouldn't have been assaulted. You guys are on notice. This isn't an abstract or me pulling it out of my behind. I'm giving y'all real life scenarios, mine, and showing you that families are being affected every day. And my heart goes out to those families, again, to hers. It was very hard for me when I walked into the courtroom today. My mother got there before I did, and she looked up at me with tears in her eyes streaming down her face, waiting for them to bring him over into the courtroom just for a glimpse to see who took her brother. It was very hard, and I put my arm around her because she was so upset. She was so angry. She was so sad. Her emotions were all over the place as well. I imagine this is happening to countless families across the country, but thank God North Carolina took a step in the right direction because it's out of hand. Do you know you can go through your entire life without killing someone? It's possible. I've seen it happen. Do you know you can go through your entire life without multiple arrests? It's possible. I've seen it happen. I sat in court today and it irritated me so bad. I was listening to them. I guess they were trying to reduce the bond or something for this young man who they were saying shot up a high school graduation party. And nobody is talking. There's this whole snitches get stitches. So even though it's on video, like of the shooting, nobody, like you can't particularly see who actually did the shooting or whatever. And so nobody's talking. And I listened to people say, he's an A student. Maybe he was. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. He was an A student, never had any prior charges, or he's never been in trouble with the law. And then the DA pulled up videos of the young man playing music and having guns and shooting, pulled up some Instagram messages where they were talking about the event back and forth. So it wasn't looking great for him. But what frustrated me was the defense attorney saying pretty much, So what? Because this is what young black men like to do. This is what young teenagers like to do. They like to dance and pose around with guns. I'm talking about AK-47s. These big assault rifles. Like, this is what black teenagers like to do in Durham. I don't know why, but they do. Why are we excusing that type of behavior for just something teenagers like to do? Do you know I never danced around with multiple assault rifles, making any type of threats? Now, the internet wasn't interneting back then. But why is that what we love to do now? Why is that being seen as something that black teenagers like to do? I don't know why. It just is. This is what kids do. That is not what kids do. And we are making this type of behavior okay and acceptable. I don't understand. And then we sit and cry when they fall into crime and then have to pay for that crime because, listen, most people don't want to see their loved ones behind bars. I get it. Many times you know and understand and see a different side of them. But why do we promote this type of behavior, applaud this type of behavior, and then when the hammer falls, all of a sudden we're in crisis? We're wearing t-shirts. We're hashtagging free Lil Fat Draws or whatever. You knew Lil Fat Draws was a terror before he actually committed the crime that could be sending him away for the rest of his life. You already knew that. You already knew that. And if you didn't know as a parent, you're not that great of a parent. You're not as involved as you should be. There should be some signs. You saw some type of red flags. Number one, moms, if you know you didn't do a good job picking a father for your child, and he's out here willy-nilly trying to figure it out on his own, there is a greater chance that someone who's going to be a negative influence is going to be around him. You should really be on your toes, paying attention and trying to be involved. But many of you can't be involved mothers because you're too busy trying to figure out the next nigga you gonna fuck. I'm just telling you what it is. You don't care enough to realize you already made one mistake. You just want to keep making multiple mistakes. Multiple children with many different men. And then you get offended when someone says, well, how many dads do you have? How many children you got and how many different dads? Ladies, y'all get offended with that. Well, it does show that there's a kink in the hose with your decision making. And unless you can say, yes, there was a kink in the hose, but I have changed my thought process, I have changed the way that I live, you are a liability, even still. So you already know that you are putting these kids behind the 8 ball. They're born behind the 8 ball. They're born with limited chances. And then you still don't try to do an about face and be a better parent. Because parenting starts when you cock your legs open and have raw sex. That's when parenting starts. I know a lot of y'all try to cover it up Oh, well, let me just run to the abortion clinic. Now, some of y'all still mamas, your baby's just dead. Parenting starts when you cock your legs open, have raw sex, and get pregnant. That's when parenting starts. And unless there's a mind change, we aren't going to see anything different. So again, stop getting in court, crying, whining, wearing the t-shirts. Oh, we don't want to hear it. Start when they are knee-high to a grasshopper. Start when you lay down. And then start taking some accountability, because I'm not seeing women do that. I'm seeing y'all still dodge accountability instead of saying, yeah, I messed up. I messed up, but there's nothing I can do about the past. Let me do better going forward. Y'all still out in Biscuitville in your tight pajamas and bedroom shoes, looking like trash. No class. No class, just ass. That's all many of you have. And you putting these little terrors on the streets. So if you don't do something about it, somebody has to. So personally, I'm applauding Iryna's law. Now, what I'm hoping is, because I do think jails are overcrowded many times, because some of the stuff laws and people are going to jail for, I think is stupid. Personally, I don't think you should be locked up for speeding or driving with your license revoked or some of these probation violations because you did something very minor. We might have to get rid of some of that. Y'all locking up men because they can't pay their child support. That ain't right. Give that bed to somebody else. Give that bed to a repeat offender. Give that bed to a violent offender. I'm sorry. You can't get the check from whoever, Tyrone, Keith, whatever you want to call him. You can't get the check. He's struggling to pay. I'm sorry. Guess what? He can't pay if he locked up in jail. So he shouldn't, he don't need to be there. And if you never get it right, if you never get a check, I'm sorry. That's the penalty you have to pay for choosing wrong to start. I'm sorry. Maybe it'll make some of y'all ladies be a little bit nicer. Stop being bitches. And stop making it so hard for the man to be around to start with. Because I done said before, if I had to deal with some of y'all attitudes, I'd be a deadbeat dad myself. Some of y'all have just nasty attitudes and you use kids as a pawn to get back at the man. And then you wonder why he don't want to come around. Because every time he has to come around, he's trying to hold on to his religion, or he's trying to keep from going to jail from knocking your teeth out. Because you don't know how to shut up. You don't know how to be respectful. You condescending and belittling. And you think you hold the cards because you got the child. And Uncle Sam is on your side. Now, maybe if the government stops stepping in, some of you bitches will make better decisions. And I called you exactly the way you act, like female dogs, mutts, menacing, unruly, thuggish, and thottish. You mutts don't need the government stepping in. Told y'all, bear with me today. But I am excited about the new law. Thank you, Jay Speaks, for the super chat. Well, Shemeka, you know most people are dumb and evil. So many of them are. And I appreciate the super chat. Hi, Thomas. Hola, Miguel. I want to say thank you all for being here. I know that I think Fearless may be going on right now. I don't know. So I appreciate everybody who's usually in both chats being here today. Mulligan says this incident was crazy. It absolutely was. Hey, Melina, thank you for being here. While Melina is here and she hit the like button on the way in, thank you so much. I just want to show her banner. Remember, guys, to check out her page on Rumble. She puts up inspirational messages. So please check her out, guys. If you're on Rumble, if you aren't, subscribe because we show on Rumble too. And I'm asking you, if you're watching on X, choose somewhere else to watch. Rumble or YouTube. Even Facebook is a bit nicer right now than X is. Thomas Bailey, if anyone thinks I have sympathy for these demons, they can look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. I have none. He says the fact that society just looks the other way while a murderous piece of shit commits the horrific attack is a sad commentary on society. Yeah, they just look the other way. Now, as a female, I don't know what I would have done. Even, I probably would have been like the big back that was there who just looked out the window or whatever she did. But the fact that it was so many men on there who didn't even just try to restrain him. I mean, and it's unfortunate. You think about what happened to Daniel Penny, who tried to step in and possibly subdue someone before they committed, some type of atrocious act. And he had to go through a whole trial. It was awful. It makes you not want to step in. Yeah. It's sad. Pete says electroshock treatments, long treatments. Yeah, I bet they would stop then. They would think twice about committing these crimes, especially over and over and over. Thank you, TJ, the conservative hustler, for being here. I appreciate you all today tuning in to hear about this law. Yeah, I'm going to sell them some bionic glasses if they believe it was just this woman that led to this law change. Miguel says they keep putting more and more restrictions on gun laws to where only the criminals have guns. Everyone should be packing. That's what the Second Amendment is for. Absolutely. I'm telling you, I do not have mine right now. So I hate to say this. But my husband wants me to have mine at all times. Leaving the house, sitting on the couch, sitting outside, having some sun. Because you're right. They put these laws in place. Those of us that follow the law will end up being hurt because criminals don't follow laws. I don't understand what the Democrats who are always pushing this don't understand. They don't follow laws. Thomas said you would have at least checked on her instead of just walking off the train looking like it sucks to be you, girl. Shaking my head. Yeah, I wouldn't have just walked off the train. And I would have tried to get a good look at him just in case he would have happened to get away. Miguel says the demon had a knife. If everyone on that train had guns, the outcome would have been different. That demon would have had all kinds of holes to exit out of. Yeah, it's the way it should have been. That is the way it should have been. Again, don't forget to check out Melina's Rumble page. We appreciate her being a consistent head shaker. Thank you so much, Melina, for always being here and tuning in. I just want to say to the criminals, y'all thought it was sweet to do violent crimes and just walk out the front door. Think again. Iryna's law just changed the game. These laws are improving pretrial safety, but they don't solve every problem. We understand that, but it is definitely a step in the right direction. But it's going to take people like us watching, questioning, and holding the system accountable. That is still needed. Iryna's law, though, is a game changer. For the criminals, y'all better be shaking in your Jordans. For families like mine, it's a step towards justice and safety, a step that should have happened years ago. Had this step happened years ago, I may not be saying this is the second anniversary of my uncle's murder, because the monster who killed him wouldn't have even been on the streets. We have to stay aware because laws are not enough. We have to stay involved and make sure the system actually protects the innocent. This is about accountability, safety, and finally making the criminals play by the rules. If you care about your community, pay attention, because laws like this only work when we do our part. Thank you for joining me, Head Shakers. I will be back here tomorrow, same place, same time, shaking my head about something else. As always, I love y'all. Peace. Oh, wait, I see another one by one of my favorites. He would have had to show me how that knife worked on a man. Them men on that train were wimps. I totally agree. I love y'all. Peace.